if we genuinely believe that prayer is the fundamental thing that makes a difference in this world, and that prayer is the foundational act of being a person of faith, I would kind of argue that Thy Kingdom Come is one of the key areas we should be engaging in. I'm the Revd Philip Johnson. I'm the Vicar of Malvern Link with Cowley, and I've been involved in church growth research for quite a number of years. We did a survey of incumbents of mid-sized churches, which are between 20 and 60 average weekly attendance in size. So if you took the whole of the Church of England, cut it into thirds, the middle third of churches would be between those sizes. And we asked those incumbents what works for them in parish ministry, and what's worked for them in terms of national interventions and diocesan interventions. The things that people found most helpful, more than anything else, was family. Family was really was a really key support network, and friends. 86% of people said that their family and friends were their kind of key core support. And 94% of people felt that spiritual direction was really helpful to them. The two highest national interventions are A Church Near You and Thy Kingdom Come. And what's interesting about both of those is that they score really highly. But if you look at something like Thy Kingdom Come, where you've got somewhere around 85 to 90% of clergy saying that they had engaged with the material, of which 74%, 75% felt that the material was helpful. When you then dig into what wasn't helpful about it, a lot of the time they're not saying that the material itself isn't helpful, it's just that they couldn't use it this year or last year in a particular scenario. But the amount of people who have not used the material is really low. If you then look at the things that people say about their experience of those interventions, they're overwhelmingly positive. The other thing that's really interesting is that it made no difference as to whether you changed, if you cut the data, as to whether it came from a particular theological tradition, whether they felt that they were on the more Catholic end of the spectrum or the more charismatic end of the spectrum. None of those made any difference to the final data. The second thing that people said that it allowed them to do was that it allowed them to very easily get engaged in ecumenical action. So there's a lot of comments in the data about people being able to pick up material and have a very easy ecumenical conversation, where prayer was something that was going to really unite people and bring people together. So some people really enjoyed the nature of it being a novena, for example. Other people really enjoyed the ability of being able to work across different boundaries, and also that there was a breadth of material that allowed people to engage with it, whether that was printed or digital. Unsurprisingly, one of the things that lots of people liked was that it was free. And so there was a big sense, particularly with the Thy Kingdom Come material, that the entry level was quite low. You didn't need to have a wide level of expertise, and you could quite easily do events and work together with other people at a very small scale and join in with things on a very big scale. So in my context, my parish is in Malvern, and Malvern is very heavily churched. And Thy Kingdom Come has been one of the things that's been really easy for us to be able to work together. But interestingly, Thy Kingdom Come is not about a worship style. It's actually about prayer. That isn't liberal Catholic, it isn't evangelical, it isn't charismatic, it's just Christian. And I think the ability of Thy Kingdom Come to be able to mix a liturgical tradition, an extemporary prayer tradition, a whole variety of different styles within the material, allows a huge group of people in the Church of England to be able to engage. And one of the comments that one of the incumbents made was that if she had stood up in front of the church and said, I want to start a prayer group and I want it to be every week and we're going to have a compline service at 9 o'clock every evening, loads of people would have just said, no, that's not us, that's not what we do, and that's not, I'm not interested in that. But because people had the experience of doing something for a finite period of time, they enjoyed it, they found it spiritually nourishing, they found it engaging and helped them to flourish, that then allowed that parish to be able to do something beyond that. So I think that there are lots of little stories like that, which I think are really powerful in terms of showing that Thy Kingdom Come can give a focus for a period of time, which then allows people to explore ministries beyond that. If we genuinely believe that prayer is the fundamental thing that makes a difference in this world, and that prayer is the foundational act of being a person of faith, I would kind of argue that Thy Kingdom Come is one of the key areas we should be engaging in. Our plans for TKC next year are larger than our plans were prior to the pandemic. And the more that we can use that as a springboard, the more I think that's a useful and really helpful intervention to enable us to grow God's kingdom.